listeners, thank you for joining us. I'm Joy,
And I'm Laura.
and this is The Witches of Letters, a supernatural rewatch podcast.
Buckle up as we dive into season 4, episode 17. It's a Terrible Life. Joy, I have a question for you.
What?
How's your house now?
I did a lot of spiritual cleansing, and it is better than it was.
Joy's house is haunted. Again.
It's me. I get this house so haunted all the time. Like, to the extent that Nick, who doesn't really pick up on this stuff very much, has been noticing and been like, not annoyed. Annoyed isn't the right word. Maybe like mildly concerned. He's like, you need to get your act together. You need to sort this out.
Well, he's been noticing stuff as well.
Yeah. So like he's been getting up in the middle of the night being like, what was that sound? What's going on? Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't know what we're talking about, you need to listen to our bonus episode that was out on Halloween. Because we had...
You would honestly, like, I wouldn't blame people for thinking that we make these things up for the Halloween season. But like, honestly...
No, Joy literally just makes us haunted.
It was ridiculous. So like there was a time before where we had a certain person who shall remain nameless, who is deceased, hop on and demand her story be told, which fair enough, you know.
That was also in a Halloween episode.
Yeah, I have nothing bad to say about that. And then I decided that I was going to research a lot of really spooky stuff. And I was going to have one of my best friends on the podcast, Carly Latham, and she was a great guest. She was highly entertaining, amazing. She's also a spiritual medium. So we're sitting here talking about the ooky, spooky, scary stuff. And like, mind you, there's been weird noises all around my house. There's been the cat sitting and staring at a corner of the room for like an hour, looking really spooked. And I thought I had a handle on everything. And then I ended up buying like another cleansing candle because Carly was like, Joy, there's something in your hallway. Like, you need to,
She said
like...
that before we even started recording.
Yeah, and then it just went on through the whole... She was like, there's something there. And then I got this fog over my camera. I know that we don't share the video from these, but like I got fog over my camera, over one side of my camera, which you will notice is not here now. It's fine now. So like it's just been very spooky this Halloween season.
Yeah.
It made me feel low-key trepidatious to read ghost stories today because that's the theme. So the lore that I have is like ghost story stuff. I know, right? I might light a candle or something before I read the scary stories this time. Throw some salt around, Winchester style. But yeah, it's been really spooky. We try to debunk things, and we do debunk things. So I promise you, if you hear us talking about something, it's something that we couldn't debunk. Because like the other day we were recording one, and there was like this weird like bouncing light on mine. And we're like, what is that? Is that an orb or something? What is it? And then I worked out that it was a cat hair. So like,
oh yeah,
I swear we do not ever like amp things up to make them more entertaining.
No, I like to believe stuff, but I am definitely skeptical.
Yeah,
because I get too scared, so I always try to think of a
rational explanation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's been a bunch of stuff we debunked. Like we had a couple of things that we could have run as like, oh, this is an EVP, but then we figured out that it wasn't. So we never let anything like that drop. So if you hear an EVP, it's a genuine EVP. We can't explain it. Or if you hear us talking about something super weird, we're genuinely talking about something super weird. We're not like blowing smoke up your butts to entertain you.
Especially with any of our EVPs, behind the scenes, we've had like an hour conversation about what could it be, and like we've tried to work out if it's something else.
We've tried to rip it apart. Anything that actually makes it out, I promise you, we spent like over an hour trying to rip apart and disprove first.
Yeah. Did we ever talk about my weird voice note? I think we might have done.
Was that the one
when I left my phone downstairs? No, my headphones were downstairs.
I don't think.
And then, yeah, the headphones were downstairs and they were still connected to my phone, even though I'd put them in their case. And then I sent a voice note to Joy, but because I wasn't near my headphones and therefore the microphone, it was just a silent voice note, except you could hear footsteps in the background, and I was sat
Yeah,
still
and
upstairs,
she
and
lives
so was my
alone.
cat.
Yeah.
And then you
I
could
was
hear something, like, in the kitchen, and I was like,
walking.
"Oh, that really freaked me out."
She
I
was
think
like,
we might
"Nope,
have
nope,
talked
nope."
about it before.
I don't remember talking about it on air. Like, we have talked about it. I don't think we've ever
That
talked about
freaked
it
me
on the
out.
podcast. Also, I don't know if we might have done. My memory's not great at the moment because we've been double recording for weeks and weeks and weeks. So, like, I am destroyed. But um we told Carly, but I don't remember if it's in the episode or not. So, even if it is, I suppose not everyone listens to the bonus episode, so it might be new tea for some of you, which is that when we were doing the investigation on one of the bonus episodes with one of the spectral people, so skirting her. I'm never going to say her name again because she was
No.
like all over it. Um, so with one of the ghosties, um, there was a voice note, like sorry, there were voice waves on my audio when I
Oh,
wasn't speaking
yeah.
when I was doing a reading for her. She had left voice waves. Now there wasn't any sound, so we don't know what she was actually saying, but that is actually spookier to me, the fact that there was
Yeah.
my voice pattern and then a distinct second voice pattern, that went along with the reading that I was doing at the time and filled in on my track.
Yeah,
That's
that was weird when I was editing.
that's so spooky. Laura was like, "Joy, you will not believe what is going on right now." So yeah, that's what like our Halloween bonus episodes have been really really fun, and I don't regret making them because they're amazing experiences. But I have gotten pretty haunted, pretty spooky over here. Like I feel like I've remedied the situation now, reset everything, did
Yeah.
some cleansing. I feel like I'm good to go now, but I don't remember my house ever being this active before. Like I think this is the most
Mm.
active things I've ever been.
Yeah, I remember that on the last Halloween, because normally you, like, make jokes about, like, "Oh, I've got you haunted." Um,
Yeah.
but in the
A
Halloween
taste of
episode,
my own medicine this year for real. Like this is my own karma coming back to me.
yeah, you were actually really freaked out, which freaked me out more because 'cause you're
Yeah,
not normally
because
freaked out.
I'm the one who's like, everything is fine. Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary. I'll say it like 3 times into a mirror in the dark, no fear whatsoever. But like this time, it did actually spook me out.
Yeah.
Um, I actually got spooked, and that is weird and rare for me. I think it goes to show how absolutely shattered I was and have been because normally I'm so confident in my energy and in my ability to cast things out of my space. Like I've been doing this since I was young and I do know what I'm doing, but I was so absolutely fatigued and freaked out that I was like low key panicked. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Like I was a little shook. So yeah, that's our spooky preamble. Um, if you've listened to that, I almost said if you've watched that episode. If you've listened to that episode and you liked it, um, definitely write in the comments and tell us what your favorite part was, because I it's nice to hear those those things always.
Yeah, we'd have fun doing those episodes, but it was a lot.
It was a lot. Never again at that pace. We'll definitely do more bonus stuff, and I think we'll do more spooky stuff too. It's probably Laura's house's turn to be haunted next time. But
Mine has been enough, thank you.
I wish I had a ghost cat though. I get all these random ghosts, and you get like a cute little ghost cat. That's just rude. Who's assigning the cat ghosts? The cat ghost distribution system is not working. Right. Do you want to give us your thoughts on the Ghostfacers?
Oh, yeah, the Ghostfacers are
Speaking of
back.
ghosts. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I have mixed feelings about them because I don't like them, but also they were funny.
They were so funny. They're so funny this episode. This episode is the episode that turns the tide for me because they're designed for us to hate them. In the first episode, especially, they are designed to be so irritating, right? Then in their second appearance, they're still douchebags. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
you start to kind of warm up to them because they go through this terrible trauma. Um, and they sort of make an effort, you know? Again, they're still douchebags. And then this time around, they're still douchebags, guys. It's a constant trait, but they become weirdly endearing because they're so funny, and even though they're not technically there helping Sam and Dean, they are still helping Sam and Dean, and it's really
Yeah.
pivotal. Like, this stupid ass video that they've made where they fucking stolen everything from the Winchesters and then put Ghostfacers merch, like, all of their merch is things they've taken from them. They've got Ghostfacers salt, they've got a Ghostfacers Zippo. Um, it's just so ridiculous and
It is
funny and
funny.
great.
They're so bitter about Sam and Dean though, and it's like they literally saved them. Although I suppose at the end of that episode, they then wiped all of their evidence.
Yeah,
But yeah.
that's why they're calling them douchebags because,
Yeah.
um, one of their team died, and they're like, "We're doing this for him," and it was a bit shady. It was a bit like social media, "Doing this for you, it's a tribute for you, Corbin." But then it's like they're doing it to get famous, and we know it. And so when things get
Yeah.
deleted, it's kind of like it is horrible because his whole legacy theoretically is deleted, but then also it stops them from being such douche canoes.
Yeah.
So it's funny. Uh, but yeah, I don't. You really do start to kind of like I think you start to like them more and hate them less in this episode. And with Sarah Gamble
Mm.
writing
Love
this,
to hate them.
I had my usual back and forth attitude with Sarah because I watched the Ghostfacer scenes and I was like, "Yes, Sarah, I love you. You're amazing. This whole episode's amazing." And she does write some of my favorite episodes, and this is one of my favorites. And then she does the thing where she writes that like Bobby is Dean's dad and Ellen is his mom and Joe is his sister. And I said, "No, Sarah. Bad.
Yeah.
Bad, Sarah. Go to your corner."
I did find a fun fact about the ghost faces and their like webisode things as well. So
Yeah.
they did actually make some that went along with the season, like real ones. So it said
Oh
this
my gosh.
on IMDb. It says actual Ghostfacers webisodes were created to accompany the season. In the first one, shots of their workshop reveal a dartboard with the Winchester's picture on it. And if, quote, Dean Smith and, quote, Sam Wesson had watched all the Ghostfacers online instructional videos, they would have seen those photos.
That is
But
really
that's fun.
fun.
I love it when they do things like that, where it's like if there's a um, phone number or something, and then it does lead to something.
And
Like
then
if you ring it,
yeah, like
it
John's
links to
actual
something.
voicemail or something.
Yeah,
That is really cool.
and like webisodes like this, it's fun.
Yeah. I like it when they make storytelling more three-dimensional like that. That's so cool. Right. Do you want to give us the synopsis for this episode?
Yes, so this is season 4, episode 17. It's a Terrible Life. The original air date for this episode was March 26th, 2009. In this episode, Dean wakes up as Dean Smith, a corporate executive at Sandover Bridge Iron Company, while Sam is Sam Wesson, a tech support worker at the same firm. Neither of them remembers their real lives as hunters. When a series of mysterious deaths occur in the office, Sam starts to suspect something supernatural is going on and convinces Dean to help investigate. As they dig deeper, Sam reveals that he has been experiencing dreams or flashbacks of their true identities as hunters. Eventually, they discover that the ghost of Sandover, the founder of the company, is haunting the building, and they have to work out how to stop him by watching Ghostfacers videos. In the end, it is revealed that the whole scenario is an elaborate test set up by an angel named Zachariah to remind Dean of his true purpose and destiny.
He was touched by an angel. Yeah, I really, really love this episode, like I was saying before. I find it so unbelievably funny. Um, the highlights for me from the first couple of scenes, I just wanted to like run my favorite bits by you before we like properly get started. Number one, the Dracula bobblehead actually looks like the Dracula from Monster Movie.
Yeah, it
Like
does.
legitimately looks like him, and that was an amazing detail. Um, I loved it so much. Number 2 is Dean with the rice milk, okay? 'Cause he's in some kind of alternate reality version of himself where he acts like Sam about food. I mean, I admittedly, Sam is not, like, necessarily vegan or vegetarian, but he definitely eats a lot more vegetables than Dean does, and Dean's,
Yeah.
like, health obsessed in this episode. Um, so I find it so funny that he's got, like, his rice milk, and it's implied that he might be vegan because we know how Dean feels about, like, vegan stuff. Um, so the irony of it makes it ridiculously funny. And then also this whole way through, in the first couple of scenes, he's giving me American Psycho vibes, and it just gets stronger and stronger and stronger. Like the little things that he does, the way they built it into the plot, in my personal opinion, on purpose to make him really give us that feeling of American Psycho. It is amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. All the little motions with the tie and the
Mhm.
mannerisms and the way his office is set up and his interactions with his boss, it just builds and builds and builds. Um, and I love the boring ass car and him listening to NPR. And like The Rock comes on and he's like, "Ew, no." And he turns on NPR and he's
Yeah.
like, "Yes, this is my happy place."
Oh, yeah, it's weird. I think it does like a cleanse, so
Yeah, he does do a cleanse. I can't. It's so funny. When Sam's like, "I could really go for a beer," and he's like, "I don't have any carbs in the house." This
It's funny.
episode, honestly, is one of my favorites. It is absolutely hysterical. Okay, now we can properly go through the scenes.
Okay, so opening scene then, an alarm clock starts going off at 6 a.m. and the radio turns on and we see someone making an espresso. And the camera pans out a bit and we see it's Dean. And he's looking quite snazzy in a blue and white striped shirt and red braces and a red tie. And he's clearly getting ready for work.
Mhm.
Oh, I had a side note to say his kitchen is very chrome and very white.
It was really nice. I really liked it.
Mm.
This
Uh,
whole
he,
this whole scenario is hot. It's wrong, but it's hot. It's a thirst trap.
I don't know, it freaks me out when he's how corporate he is later. Um, he goes outside and gets into a Prius. And I wrote, "Oh, Dean, 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 what happened to baby?" And then as he starts the car, rock music starts playing, like Joyce said a minute ago. And he's like, "Ew," um, and turns it to a talk radio station. And then we get a shot of a skyscraper that says Sandover on it. And I was like, "Is this supposed to be New York?" But no, they're in Ohio.
Mhm.
Um, Dean comes out of an elevator into the building and goes to his office that says Dean Smith, Director of Sales and Marketing on it. He starts working and then he's just like laughing on the phone. He's got a Bluetooth headset. He's just very stereotypical businessman of this time. And it's not
Yeah.
very Dean. Um,
It's like 2000s Mad Men, isn't it?
yeah. He also eats healthy and diets. And I wrote, real Dean would be disgusted with himself. And then I wrote, does Joy want to make the links to the music? Because the lyrics are in the transcript.
They are. I thought it was
Like the
really,
song in the
really well
background,
done. I think it's the Kinks.
it
Um,
matches.
and so basically the music is because he gets up in the morning and that's when we see the coffee cup. And then it says, and he goes to work at 9. And this is where we see him with all of his hair slicked back and everything. And then and he comes back home at 5:30. It gets the same train every time because his world is built around punctuality and it never fails. And he's oh so good. And that's when the rock music cuts in. And then he puts on NPR in the morning stuff. And then the music comes back in and he's a well-respected man about town doing the best things oh so conservatively. And he likes his own backyard and he likes his fags the best because he's better than the rest and his own sweat smells the best.
Ew.
And he hopes to grab his father's loot when when Pater passes on, which is just Latin for father. So he hopes he's going to grab his father's inheritance when he dies, is the translation of that. Because he's oh so good and he's oh so fine. And he's oh so healthy in his body and his mind. He's a well respected man about town doing the best things so conservatively. And that's basically the end of this part, but it's just the implication is that he's corporate and sold out and soulless, which is the point of the song. The song is more or less about being kind of like a corporate sellout. And Yeah, the whole thing builds up such an amazing American Psycho vibe that I am thrilled because
Yeah, it
I've made
definitely
that
does.
comparison so many times. And then we get to this episode and I'm just like in my element, living my best
Yeah.
life. He's full Patrick Bateman.
Yeah, that's a good call because yeah, I didn't notice that bit. That's definitely what it is.
It's the hair and everything. It's just, oh, it's amazing.
So then Dean leaves the office and gets in the lift, and Sam's there, and he looks at Dean confused, and he's like, "Do I know you?" And he's like, "No." And Dean's looking at his phone, not really paying attention, and Sam says that he's sorry, but he looks really familiar. And Dean says, "Save it for the health club, pal." And I was like, "Is this a gay joke?"
Yeah, it is a gay joke.
Because is he saying like Sam is ripped, so he must go to the gym all the time? And at this time, it was only gay men who ever looked after themselves.
I mean, and now, no, I'm kidding. So he's low key calling Sam gay and thinking that Sam is hitting on him. But
Yeah,
I
that's what I
liked
thought.
it. I liked it, and I'll tell you why I liked it, because he didn't act like he was disgusted about it or anything like that. He was just like, um, not interested. And the way that he says it, he doesn't say it in a mean, super derisive way. He just says, "Save it for the health club, pal," in a way that makes us, in my opinion, laugh so hard. Or at least that's how it hit me. I can't speak for everyone, but for me personally, I didn't find it offensive. I found it really, really funny.
I
Sam
just thought it
is
was
super
weird.
ripped. So, like, it's the because it's also the way he looks at him so intensely. He says, "Do I know you?" And Dane's like, "I don't think so." And he's so serious about it. Like, he taken so seriously. And then he won't let it go. He's like, "You just look really familiar." And, like, if you didn't know where Sam was coming from, you can absolutely read that situation that Sam is hitting on him. You could misread it that way. And it's another joke, too, because Dean always thinks that everyone thinks that he's hot. It's a key part of his character, isn't it? He's like, "Everyone thinks I'm super hot. Everyone's hitting on me all the time." Which, to be fair, look at the vessel that is Jensen Ackles. So, like, it just
Maybe.
makes it to me, it makes it hilarious. 'Cause it didn't come across as, like, mean.
Okay, I just thought it was a bit weird, unnecessary. He could have just been like, well, I don't know, but it was the gym bit. I was just like, it took me a while to realize what he was implying.
Yeah. So, we see an office that is just cubicle after cubicle after cubicle. There's a printer, and we see a fax machine, an automatic pencil sharpener is going, a phone's ringing. It's just giving office. Sam
Yeah, and we
presses
see
a
that quite a lot throughout the episode. I mean, they repeat that same
yeah,
like,
the same B-roll.
yeah,
Yeah, office B-roll. So Sam presses a button on the phone and speaks into his headset, and he says, "Tech support, this is Sam Wesson." Okay, well, did you try turning it off and then on? And this is where he's stabbing at the bobble-headed vampire, Dracula, with his pencil. And
See,
he says,
did they just have that because it was just a reference to an old episode, or is it also because Sam's kind of a vampire himself now?
I think it's both. I think
Or
it's a
both?
double reference, because it's hinting at his real life, and it's also like an accusation because he's drinking
Yeah,
Libby's blood.
yeah.
Yeah. So he says, "Okay, go ahead and turn it off." No, 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 just off. All right, give it a second. Turn it back on. Okay, is it printing now? Great, anytime. And he looks bored to death. Like, he looks
Yeah.
done, son. He is done. So another guy rocks up in the cubicle behind Sam, and he's the only person in the entire room not actually wearing the uniform. He goes, "Hey," and Sam goes, "Yo." And he says, "What do you think of Mimi?" And Sam looks over at someone we don't see and shrugs and says, "She's okay." And he says, "I might have to hit that." And Sam says, "Oh, dude, that's totally age inappropriate." And he says, "Experience." And Sam
I hate
says,
this guy.
"Trifocals." And he says, "There's a MILF there, Sam. I just know it. Maybe a GMLIF, a GMILF."
Ugh.
And Sam says, "Come on." And he says, "Coffee break?" And Sam says, "Yeah, for sure." So they get up and they pass another man in the background who's called Paul. And he says, "Paul, time for a refuel, buddy." And Paul says, "Sorry, no time." And he says, "Since when? Dude, we get paid by the hour." And Paul just says, "Working." And he is hyper fixated on what he's doing. And he gives this impression that he's really uptight.
Yeah, and he wants to be left alone. He's just like, leave me alone.
Yeah. Sam says he seems stressed, and his friend says freaked out because he got busted surfing porn on the internet. And Sam goes, "No, no, no way, when?" And he says he got sent up to HR yesterday. I guess they put the fear of God into him, which is funny when you know that it's angel fuckery that's actually
Yeah.
causing this entire situation. I
Yeah.
mean, to be fair, the
Also, this,
ghost, but
yeah, this guy is, oh, I don't like him. He's like the office perv.
yeah. So the microwave dings and somebody takes a bag of popcorn out and leaves. Sam heads for the coffee pot and his friend goes to a supply cabinet and starts pocketing all these different packets of pencils, foreshadowing, by the way. And Sam says,
Ugh.
"Ian, dude." And now we know he has a name. And Ian says, "I'm just doing a little shopping. I'm running low at home." Sam hands him a cup of coffee and Ian says, "So Sam, had any of those dreams lately?" And Sam turns away. And Ian goes, "What? Don't be like that. Come on. It's the highlight of my day." And Sam says, "I never should have told you in the first place." And Ian says, "They're genius. Don't hold out on me, dude. Share with the class." Sam says, "You're just going to be a dick about it." And Ian's like, "What? No way. I won't say a word. Total respect. Go." And the way that he says it lets you know immediately that he absolutely will be a dick in the next
Yeah.
3.5 seconds. And it's so funny. I laughed so hard. Sam says, "I dreamt that I saved a Grim Reaper named Tessa from demons." And Ian bursts out laughing like he's gonna fold over like a lawn chair. Like he cannot contain himself. Sam looks away and sighs because he's just like, "I fucking knew it. I shouldn't have said anything to this guy." But
Yeah. I'm like Sam in this. You like him. I don't like him.
I think he has Chandler Bing energy. Um,
I don't know, because it's the perviness. Like, I like Chandler. Chandler's sarcastic, and I really like. He's one of my favorite characters and friends. This guy, no,
I feel like I'm not taking
he's
what he's
like
saying
Joey.
literally,
He's more like Joey in Friends.
and you're taking it literally. So I guess that that depends on how you're interpreting the character. Because I think that every single thing he says in the beginning is a joke, and I don't take him seriously at all.
Yeah, I think he's annoying.
So Ian says, "Classic. How much D&D did you play when you were a kid?" Oh my, okay, so you're rescuing the Grim Reaper. You're a hero. I mean, thank God we got Harry Potter over here to save us all from the apocalypse. And I laughed so hard. Oh god, it was so funny. And Sam just goes, "Dick." And Ian says, "Wizard." So the last thing we hear before we cut scenes is "Dick Wizard," and that is also hilarious.
Oh dear. So Sam's in his cubicle and he's clearly tired. He drifts off, and we get loads of clips of past episodes. And Dean cutting the head off a vampire jump scares him awake. Sam goes to the lift and gets on, and it's full of people, including Dean. When Sam sees him, he does a double take, and when Dean sees Sam, he pretends he hasn't and looks away. And they make eye contact when the lift stops and everyone else gets off. Sam asks Dean if he can ask him a question, and he asks him what he thinks about ghosts. And Dean says he hasn't thought about it. And Sam tells Dean about his weird dreams, and Dean tells him he overshares and leaves the lift.
Oh, he's looking around for a way out the entire time. And there's just no way out, and it's so funny. Like when he tells him he overshifts, the way he presses the button to get out of the elevator, like get me away from this freak. Hilarious.
Yeah, that was funny.
So we cut back to the cubicle area, and we get the same situation: the printer, the fax machine, the pencil sharpener. Like Laura said before, they use the same office B-roll.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that at this point in my notes, I wrote down that like if Dean is an American Psycho in this episode, Sam is basically in the office. Like
Yeah.
that's his version in this reality.
Or the IT crowd.
Yeah. So Sam says, "Did you turn it off then on?" And he's drawing vampires on this pad of paper. And he says, "All right, well, let's try that." No, 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 it's fine. I'll wait. But he's looking and sounding like he wants to put a pencil through his eyeball. Like he's
Yeah.
done. He's done with this whole thing. So he pulls up a search engine on his computer and looks around to make sure that nobody's looking over his shoulder and then types in vampires. Then we see all these different kind of pictures of like goth people wearing fake fangs and stuff like that. We don't really see any like actual real vampires, just like
Yeah. I thought that as well. It's funny.
gothy kids. Sam says, "Is it printing now?" "Oh, that's great. Anytime." Ian appears from nowhere and goes, "What you doing?" And Sam is like, "Oh fuck." And he minimizes the search engine and hides all the sketches and then turns around to Ian. Ian's still the only person not in uniform. And Sam says nothing. And Ian says, did you get an email from Human Resources? And Sam goes, no, why? And Ian says, damn it, I guess it's just me then. I'm supposed to, quote, report to HR, unquote. Sam says they're probably finally busting you for snaking all those office supplies. And Ian says, I hope they spank me. And then he laughs, shoves his chair back into the cubicle, and walks out. And Sam goes back to the search engine. But then in the background, Paul is having a full meltdown.
Yeah. Poor Paul.
Paul's not okay, and he's not gonna be okay. We kind of like see this
No.
scene and don't really expect him to be okay. So Sam sees him going, no, 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 come on, don't do this to me, please, absolutely freaking out. And he says, hey man, are you okay? And Paul says it froze. And Sam says, they're crap, Paul, they freeze all the time. And Paul says, you don't understand. When I rebooted, everything was gone, a whole day's work deleted. And Sam says, well, did you back up? And Paul says, no, I didn't back up. I wish to God I backed up, but I didn't. I'll get it back. I'll find it. It's somewhere. I'll find it. And that I thought was really funny. I feel like Sarah Gamble put that in there because every writer everywhere has at
Yeah.
some point just had a shit ton of inspiration. You write amazing pages. You've done 20 pages of script, right? And you're about to back it up. And then your computer freezes and you lose absolutely everything. And some motherfucker is like, but didn't you back it up? And you want to literally strangle them and throw them through a window. So that was incredibly relatable.
Yeah.
Sam says, Paul, it's okay, man. These things happen. And he's still there at night trying to recover it. So basically, we cut from daytime to nighttime, and we see him in the office, and he's the only person left in there. And
Yeah.
he's like, come on, please, please, please. And the computer says, error, no files found. And Paul's like, all that work, gone, failed. We can see that he is completely distraught. He walks into the break room, breaks the tines off of 2 plastic forks, opens the microwave, sticks the forks in where the door latches, enters 10 p.m. on the timer, sticks his head in and presses start. He's
Yeah.
smoking, screaming, basically nuking his own head. Now, is this super scary? Yes, it really is. Is it the most unrealistic, weird thing that I've ever seen in my life because the door is completely open and he hasn't made it so that he can't back his own head out?
Well, isn't that
Also,
why he put the forks in so it thinks that the door's closed?
well, yeah, that's why he did that, so it will keep going. But I don't think that any human being, no matter how suicidal, distraught, whatever you want to call it, they are,
Oh, could like hold the
ghost
head in.
possessed, whatever. His head is literally just there. There's nothing to, it's not like he chose gas. You know what I'm saying? Where he's just gonna pass out and that's it. He's
Yeah.
literally nuking his own head and just
Ugh.
choosing to stay in there for some reason. It's horrible. It's good horror, but like practically speaking, it just doesn't make any sense to me. If his
That's really
eyeballs
gruesome.
had popped, I know that's horrible, but if his
Ugh.
eyeballs had popped first, then I'd be like, okay, he can't see, he's panicked.
Mm.
Like
Well,
that might have
maybe,
even
I
made it.
mean, he's zapped his brain. Maybe it's like
Maybe.
killed him instantly. I don't
But
know.
he just starts screaming horribly while standing there with his head in it, and there's
Yeah.
nothing stopping him from taking his head out. It's just I was like, "This is great," but it's also so stupid at the same time.
Ugh. Yeah. Now, there's one thing you forgot, Joy, the ghost breath, which comes back a lot this episode. So I'm just going to mention it. So we
Okay.
know he gets that whenever we get a ghost in Supernatural, there's like it goes cold in the room, doesn't it? So you see their breath,
Yeah.
ghost breath. Um,
Ghost breath.
that's what I refer to it throughout this whole episode.
Ugh.
So the next morning, Paul's body is being wheeled out of the office as Sam watches, and he sees Dean across the hall also watching. And Dean tells the guy he stood next to, um, something about this not seem right to you. And the guy goes, yeah, try the whole thing. And he's like, I'm telling you, man, I'll never eat popcorn again. Ew.
Yeah.
We then see Dean in his office and he's looking Paul up on the company database and he finds out he was going to retire in 2 weeks. And then we cut back to Sam, who's rolling up to Ian's cubicle and asks, why would someone kill themselves 2 weeks before they're supposed to retire? And Ian's ignoring him during this, which is very out of character, as we know. So we know something's up. And then he turns to Sam and says, I don't have time for this, Sam. And he's acting the same way that Paul did before he died.
Yeah. And he's wearing the uniform.
Oh, yeah. So he's being a good little employee now.
Mhm. So then we cut to Dean's office. Ian knocks on the door and walks in, and Dean says, "Hi, Ian, is it? Yeah, come on in. Yesterday you filled out a 445-T, and no problem, just a few errors when we did your switch over to Vista. So I'm sure you're used to filling out the dash R's, am I right?" And Ian says, "Oh no." And Dean says, "No, no, no, it's fine. It's fine. I just need you to redo one today so I can get the show on the road with the invoicing." And he pushes the paperwork over to Ian. Ian looks absolutely terrified, and he's like, "Oh my God." And Dean says, "No, it's fine. Just refile it and we're square." Ian says, "I can't believe I did this." And he is having a mental breakdown in front of our eyes. And Dean's like, "Wow, something is not right here." Like you can see him clock that this isn't great. Ian says, I can't believe I did this." And Dean says, "Hey guy, come on." Ian says, "No, no, it affected profits. I screwed up. I can't. I'm sorry. How could I do that? I failed Sandover. I failed the company." And Dean's like, "All right, why don't you sit down, Ian?" And Ian says no, and then he runs out of the room.
Uh-uh.
And he's like, Ian, hey. And he follows him into the bathroom. And he says, "Hey, just chill out, man, okay?" Ian's staring into this mirror, and we get ghost breath, as Laura likes to point out. So the faucets come on, and in my notes, I say that this is like very Ghostbusters because we start getting the pink
Yeah.
goo coming out of everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and Ian and Dean are the only ones there, but all the soap dispensers start going off. Um, so it's weird and spooky. And Dean's like, "What the fuck?" But he says, "Ian, hey, maybe we should get out of here, huh? Come on, Ian, look at me." Because he's like, "There's something not right and we should be running away." Ian turns to Dean and pulls a pencil out of his pocket, stares at Dean for a moment, and then stabs himself in the neck. Dean stares at the spout of blood and rushes forward as Ian collapses. He looks up to see an old man in the mirror. And I just wrote down, "Ah, 'tis Ebenezer Scrooge."
Oh, this is gruesome as well. All
Yeah.
these deaths.
Yeah, so he turns around and there's no one there, and Ian's, like, dead on the floor in a pool of his own
Yeah.
blood with a pencil sticking out of his neck. Good gore.
Ew. Yeah. I do have
Scary.
a small fun fact to lighten the mood here, which I don't know. This is on IMDb. I don't know how true, like if it was intentional, but it was quite fun. So
Yeah.
the two victims' first names, Ian and Paul, are also the first names of the stars of Vampire Diaries.
Oh,
So we got
yeah.
Ian
Yeah.
Somerhalder and Paul Wesley,
Yeah.
and the first season of that aired the same year as this episode of Supernatural, and it is on the same network, isn't it?
With
And there
Sam
has been
stabbing a vampire in the
references to it
beginning.
before.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it might be intentional, but I thought that was fun.
I was always sort of slightly sad that they never guest starred on an episode of Supernatural as anything.
Yeah, that'd be good. But then didn't they say, because we've mentioned the I think it's at a con when they talk about like crossovers or something. And
Yeah.
it's like, but how would that have worked? Because either the Winchesters are going to kill the vampires or the vampires are going to kill the Winchesters.
Well, I didn't want it as a crossover, I just wanted them to be guest stars. I didn't want them to be
Yeah,
playing, but I wanted stuff that alluded to those parts, but, like,
that
wasn't
would be
like
fun.
that would have been awesome. Or, like, even just Sarah Michelle Gellar on just one episode playing something random would have been really cool.
Yeah.
Ideas for the movie, guys. I'm convinced that we're gonna get, like, a mini series or a movie or something. Something's gonna happen.
What
Before they're
about the
too old for it to make any sense. They've
Buffy
gotta do
reboot?
it.
Have Sam and Dean come on.
Yeah. They gotta do it. Anyway, so Um, Dean's explaining to the cops that he just followed him into the bathroom because it looks like he stabbed this guy. It looks like American Psycho. It's like he followed him into the bathroom and stabbed him in the neck with a
Yeah.
pencil. And he's trying to explain that he did it to himself. And then Dean sees Sam walk up because Sam's obviously curious what's going on. And there's a moment of like recognition. And then we cut back to the cubicle area again. And we get the same B roll of the printer, the fax machine, the pencil sharpener, the phone rings. Sam answers it and he says, "Tech support, this is Sam." Dean says, I need to see you in my office now." Sam hangs up and then we cut to Dean's office. And he buttons up a new shirt because he obviously got blood on the last one. And again, it's giving very
Yeah.
like Patrick Bateman vibes.
Yeah, it is.
He says, "Come in," and shut the door. So Sam walks in and closes the door behind him, and he says, "Who the hell are you?" And Sam says, "I'm not sure I know." And Dean says, "What the hell does that mean?" And Sam says, "Sam Wesson." And I was like, "Oh, Smith and Wesson."
Yeah.
Gun
That's clever.
reference. Smith
And
and
because they're
Wesson.
the Winchesters as well.
Yeah,
They had
exactly.
a gun reference before.
Yeah. So
That is
Smith and
cool.
Wesson, it turns out I learned today, I think from IMDb or Supernatural Wiki Fandom, I forget which one, because I got the Smith and Wesson reference, but I was unaware that they also worked on the Winchester. But now I know, and now we all
Ah.
know.
Yeah, and I didn't realise that it was the same thing. I just knew they were both gun references.
Yeah. So, Sam says that he started there 3 weeks ago, and Dean says, "All right, you cornered me in the elevator talking about ghosts, and now," and Sam says, "Now what?" And Dean says, "Now nothing. So you started working here 3 weeks ago, huh?" Because he starts out, like, kind of somewhat aggressive, and Sam's like, "What?" And Dean's like, "I don't know." It's so funny. So Dean says, "Yeah, me too." And he unscrews the top of a bottle, and he says, "It's the Master Cleanse. You tried it? Phenomenal. Detoxes you like
Ugh.
nobody's business." And then he starts drinking it. And Sam says, "When you were in that bathroom with Ian, did you see something?" And Dean says, "I don't know. I don't know what I saw." And Sam says, "Wait, are you saying that did you see a ghost?"
Mm,
And Dean
the
says,
way
"I
he
was
said it
freaking
was really
out."
funny.
Yeah, it is so funny.
It's like, "Did you see a ghost?"
It's very
Yeah.
Scooby Doo. A ghost. Um
What? What?
Dane says, "I was freaking out. The guy penciled his damn neck." Sam says, "You did, didn't you?" Okay, listen. What if these suicides aren't suicides? I mean, what if there's something not natural? And in all of our heads, I'm sure we were all like, supernatural. So Dean says, "So what? Ghosts are real and they're responsible for all the dead bodies around here? Is that what you're telling me?" Dean and Sam kind of sit down in unison at this point, and I'm just like, "Oh, we're like, they're syncing up. It's
Oh.
happening." Sam says, "I know it sounds crazy, but yeah, that's what I'm telling you." And Dean says, "Uh-huh, based on what?" And Sam kind of looks around for an answer and then says, "Instinct." Because he realizes he can't tell him about his dreams because it would sound crazy at this point. So he's trying to like eke things out so that he doesn't sound insane and Dean will be his best friend. Um, and then he shakes his head and then he looks back up and then he says, "I've got the same instinct." And Sam says, "Seriously? You know those dreams I was telling you about? I was dreaming about ghosts." And Dean says, "Yeah." And then it turns out that there's a real ghost. And I was like, "Psychic." Um, and Dean says, "So you're telling me that your dreams are special visions and you're some kind of psychic?" That part is so funny. Like the way he delivers that line is
Yeah.
amazing. And Sam says, "No, I mean that would be nuts." I'm just saying something weird is definitely going on around here, right? So I've been digging around a little, which is his classic. So, according to the lore.
Yeah.
So he pulls all these papers out of
Oh,
his bag and he says, "I think I found a connection between the two guys." And Dean looks at the paper and he says, "You broke into their email accounts." And Sam
he's
says,
been doing
"I
some hacking.
I used some skills that I happen to have to satisfy my curiosity." And Dean's just like, "Nice." And Sam says, "Yeah. Okay, so it turns out Ian and Paul both got the same email telling them to report to HR, room 1444. Dean's like, "HR is on 7." And Sam says, "Exactly." Dean says, "Should we go check this out?" And Sam says, "Like right now?" And Dean says, "No, no, it's getting late. You're right." And Sam says, "I am dying to check this out right now." And Dean goes, "Right?"
That's excited.
They're so excited. It's my favorite thing in the universe.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. So then we see another employee has been summoned to room 1444 and he opens the door and goes inside. And there's nothing really there. It's just like shelves and old computers and stuff.
Yeah.
And he's calling hello and no one's there. The door slams behind him and locks him in. And after trying the door, he then goes further into the room. And then a load of small TVs or computer monitors, or whatever they were, turn on to static. And then we see the ghost breath and everything starts shaking. And then outside, we see Sam and Dean arrive, and the man inside screams. And Sam kicks the door down, and Dean's like, "Whoa!" And I was like, "Yeah, whoa!" And thirst trap. Um, Sam's face is like, "Oh, so I could do that then. That's cool."
Yeah.
And then I did find a little fact on IMDb that said the number for the room is 1444, which,
Mhm.
if you add all of those numbers up individually, it equals 13, which is traditionally an unlucky number. So that might have been intentional.
It is, and I actually my lore drops here because
Ah,
it is low key about the room number. Um, but before I tell you the lore, I just need to tell you what my show notes say because otherwise I'm gonna forget, and I think that they're funny. So, I wrote, "HR is very welcome to Night Vale," which is only gonna be funny if you guys are also fans of that podcast, but it's a horror podcast, and it's about a little town in a desert where everything is very wrong, and it's very similar to Supernatural, but, like, HR in Welcome to Night Vale is, like, these demonic entities that, like, will fuck you up and disappear you forever or make you into these perfect little working automatons. Um,
Yeah, that is the same.
it is. I loved it when they said when he says, "I'm dying to check this out right now," and Dee goes, "Right." That's one of my favorite lines in this entire episode. And then when he goes into the room, I wrote, "This very unremarkable man is about to get ghost murdered." And then I wrote, "Ebenezer Scrooge throws Sam and Dean around like a sack of potatoes." Okay, so basically, what my lore ended up being, I did look up to see if in Ohio there were haunted office buildings, and it turns out that there are a ton. But it also turns out that I'm not in America and I can't access any of those sites, which is just rude. So I was like, fine, whatever. I'm going to go and see what I can find out about 1444 and ghosts and stuff. And so what I came up with was this really interesting paper that was submitted to Sheffield Hallam University. It's called Scared to Death: Fatal Encounters with Ghosts, and it was written by David Clark. So, the part that I found really interesting is he starts talking about the possibility that um, when we say scared to death, and we're talking about literal phenomenon, like he's exploring, is it possible that either ghosts or the belief, strictly the belief in ghosts as a psychological phenomenon, could have an impact on somebody medically? Like, can you actually die of fear? And he explores it through the lens of folklore and different beliefs. And he starts out by talking about the Hound of the Baskervilles effect. So, in that story, the Sherlock, I was going to say episode. It's both a story and a Sherlock episode, to be fair to me. Um, you have people dying of fright, and he talks about how because Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was actually a medical doctor himself, he would have known that, like, this is a possibility, and he wrote into the character that he had medical issues. So he finds this really, really interesting, and other people did as well. So there is a study published in the British Medical Journal by Dr. David Phillips from the University of California, where he examined computerized death certificates issued between 1973 and 1988 to determine whether cardiac death rates among people with Chinese and Japanese backgrounds peaked on days that are considered unlucky or uncanny. In Mandarin, Cantonese, and Japanese, the words death and four are pronounced almost identically, and the number evokes the feelings of discomfort and apprehension because of its links with death, disaster, and malevolent revenants. So
Yeah.
1444
Yeah. Star
is a
Wars.
room that would be considered really unlucky in Asia, in parts of Asia, right? And I
Yeah.
remembered this because I remembered watching, I don't know if it was an episode of Monstrum or something like that, where in like certain hotels, it's similar to the number 13 in Western places. Like they will not have that room number or that floor number. It just won't exist. They'll change
Yeah.
it. So when
And
I
like
saw,
airplane rows as well.
yes, exactly. When I saw this, I was like, "Oh, that makes me think of the bad luck and the number 4, and this is a repeated number, so that makes it even more scary." Um, so he does this study, and he finds what he calls the Hound of the Baskervilles effect. And it suggests that cardiac mortality rates among the Chinese and Japanese populations surveyed peaked on the 4th of the month, exceeding those of other American citizens by a measurable degree. Phillips concluded that excess cardiac mortality on unlucky days, quote unquote, are consistent with the hypothesis that cardiac mortality increases on psychologically stressful occasions. So they did another study to challenge this study and basically like test it. And they found some interesting things. So this one was a study of male and female death rates in the Hong Kong Chinese community. Um, and it was done by Panther and Graham. And they found no evidence of increased cardiac mortality, not only on the 4th, but also on two other unlucky dates in the Chinese calendar. This study respectively examined the number of deaths in the first and second 2-week periods of the 7th lunar months between 1995 and 2000. In Chinese tradition, the first 14 days of the lunar ghost month is a hazardous period when the gates of hell are open and hungry revenants haunt the living.
Ooh.
Mhm. Although no significant differences were identified in death rates between this period and control month periods, the research did find that significantly fewer women died overall in the first fortnight of the 7th lunar month. Panzer and Graham attributed this finding to a desire among Chinese women to, quote, postpone death until after the hungry ghosts have been fed, end quote. Spooky.
It's cool.
It is really cool. Empirical evidence for a link between cardiac death rates, psychological stress, and shared cultural beliefs relating to supernatural events remain slightly elusive. However, ghosts continue to instill fear in both Chinese and Western folk belief. Traditions that explain ghost experiences as unlucky omens provided the context whereby communities could explain the cause of sudden and unexplained deaths before medical knowledge of conditions such as congenital heart disease was widespread. Now, then, what I find really interesting is the fact that on the surface, there did seem to be a link, and both of those links were really spooky,
Yeah.
and they were linked to specific points and time and also to specific numbers. So 1444 for me, and with Ebenezer Scrooge being a revenant and killing people brutally. Like, I was just like, "Oh,
Mhm.
this goes really well." Now, the article is actually longer, and he goes on to talk about specific historic dates, names, occasions where people were killed by ghosts on record,
Mm.
basically. And I thought it was really, really interesting.
How does that get put on record? Like someone see it?
Yes, I will read one to you. Okay, I'll
Okay.
read you one. So, this is the most famous one, and it's called the Campo Lane Ghost. So, the most evidential example unearthed by this research concerns the Campo Lane ghost that was linked with the death of a middle aged woman in Sheffield, Yorkshire, early in 1855. According to a contemporary report in the Sheffield Times, so it's because it gets run in the newspaper. This ghost story is one of the prettiest we have heard for some time, as it has appeared to three persons. The first it alarmed, the second it threw into fits, and the third it killed. What more can be needed to convince the most skeptical? And that was the Sheffield Times in 1855. The weekly newspaper was one of three published in the city that devoted considerable space to coverage of the death from fright of 48-year-old Hannah Rawlinson. She was the wife of laborer John Rawlinson, and they rented a room in the Park District of the town. A year before her own death, the couple's eldest son died in a Sheffield colliery accident. Both Hannah and John were members of the Church of Latter-day Saints, or Mormons, according to contemporary newspaper accounts. A short time before her death, she was introduced by a fellow Mormon, John Favell, to a young widow named Harriet Ward. A writer in the Sheffield and Rotherham Independent said of her, quote, "Of all the young women we have come into contact with for many a day, no one appears to us to be so likely to see a ghost as Ward, about whose appearance and demeanor there is a wildness indicative of an uncommon exuberance of imagination." And that ran in the Rotherham Independent in 1855, that quote. When
Mm.
in February, Favell, along with his wife and her sister, rented a tenement in Campo Lane, they brought Ward with them as a lodger. The property rented by the Favell family consisted of a first floor shop and a cellar kitchen. Ward's husband died some years earlier on, and newspapers noted that she claimed to have received frequent visitations from his ghost. She was also a convert to spiritualism and had been present during spirit rappings, which I believe is when you sit around the table and the ghost knocks to give you answers.
Ah,
So, like, you
yeah.
ask knock 3 times if yes, knock 4 times if whatever, you know? So, immediately on moving into Campo Lane, the Favells were disturbed during the night by strange sounds which might have their origin in supernatural agency. And that's a quote. The family, quote, set it down as the effects of the imagination. Nevertheless, they grew so fearful that none would venture downstairs into the cellar kitchen after dark. However, at midnight on Saturday, the 24th of February, Harriet Ward entered the cellar on an errand. A loud scream was heard, and the Favels rushed downstairs to find her leaning against a table, her features rigid and her eyes fixed upon a point in the room where she claimed a ghost could be seen. The Favels told her they could see nothing. Ward fainted away on her recovery. She described the apparition as a, quote, grim-featured old woman wearing a long white nightgown and a full bordered cap, end quote, from the Sheffield Times, 1855. Ward reported seeing this apparition 5 times during the next 24 hours whilst awake and in her dreams. In one vivid dream, the woman in white led her to a purse of gold buried under the flagstones of the cellar floor, whereupon her landlord, John Favell, took out the purse and said, "That's all we want. Let the ghost come now." Ward's visions continued on Sunday when John and Hannah Rollison and their landlady, Mrs. Johnson, visited to lunch with the Favels. During the meal, Ward declared that she could see the ghost on the cellar steps. On this occasion, the apparition displayed bloodstains on its face and neck. Her screams brought John Favell running down the cellar steps, at which point his feet appeared to touch the ghost's head. Again, according to the newspaper account, he saw nothing, as, quote, the superstition runs that only a few people are gifted with the power to see ghosts, end quote.
I don't like that she keeps seeing it.
Ward said the ghost appeared to disappear in the same corner of the cellar kitchen where she had dreamed of the buried treasure. Later, on Sunday afternoon, the 25th of February, Favell, Robinson, and Ward attended a church meeting at the Mormon Hall of Science, where the Campo Lane ghost was the main topic of conversation. A larger group, including church elders, returned to Favell's residence in the evening. A larger group, including church elders, returned to Favell's residence in the evening. By this point, Ward's dream of a buried treasure appears to have been entwined with pre-existing ghost beliefs. As a journalist remarked, of course, there could be no ghost without a murder, and therefore all the gossips have declared that the White Lady's aim is to obtain a Christian burial and bring justice, if still living, to the perpetrator of the crime. The idea that treasure or the body of a murder victim lay beneath the floor of the cellar kitchen led John Favell to begin removing flagstones from the floor of the cellar. Outside in Campo Lane, a crowd began to gather. What happened next was described in proceedings at the inquest presided over by Sheffield coroner Henry Badger. The jury at the inquest was told that as midnight approached, a group of 24 people, including Harriet Ward, the Favels, and Rollisons, were present in the first floor shop. Annoyed by the crowd gathering outside, Mrs. Favell asked her sister to cover the window of the cellar with a blind. According to the inquest proceedings, fearing what she might see on the cellar steps, she hesitated. At this point, Hannah Rollison took the blind and went downstairs, accompanied by her landlady, Mrs. Johnson. After fixing it, she turned around to face the cellar steps and was immediately seized by fear. According to the Sheffield and Rotherham Independent account, Hannah initially fainted but regained consciousness for a brief interval, during which she said, quote, she had seen a female form dressed in white on the stairs that seemed to approach her suddenly, became a substance without form, and vanished as it rushed past her. So, jump scare right in front of you, and then becomes kind of a mist and then runs through you.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah. As friends and relatives attempted to revive the unconscious woman in the first floor room, Harriet Ward announced that she could see the ghost of the White Lady at the top of the stairs. She claimed the apparition opened its white nightdress to reveal deep gashes in its neck and blood stains everywhere. Challenged in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost to say why it troubled her, the ghost made no reply but beckoned for Ward to follow. At this point, Ward began to communicate telepathically with the spirit that only she could see. The spirit told her that it was the restless soul of Elizabeth Johnson, murdered by her nephew, William Dawson, on the 26th of March, 1722, and buried deep beneath the cellar in a watery grave. The final message was, the garret and the cellar are now marked with my blood. You must quit this house because William Dawson will trouble you if you don't. The conversation ended with a sudden disappearance of the ghost, whereupon Ward fainted and remained insensible for a quarter of an hour. So this was all documented again in the Sheffield Times. Hannah Rollison was removed from the premises in a horse-drawn cab. She was taken to her home where she died the following afternoon. At the inquest on the 27th of February, the jury questioned a number of those who were present in the scene at Campo Lane. The jury members could not take anything out of the ghost story and returned a verdict of death through natural causes. Rollins was described by the coroner as a strong, healthy woman laboring under no disease as far as he knew, but he concluded that her death had certainly been caused by fright that she had received on the previous day, up to which she was in perfect health and spirits. Hannah's death certificate, held by Sheffield City Registry Office, records the cause as, quote, sudden death in a fit believed to have been brought on by fright, end quote. Contemporary accounts mention the rumors and gossip circulating in Sheffield claimed her ghost experiences were actually inspired by satanic forces. Shortly after the inquest verdict, it was reported that Ward had been excommunicated by a unanimous vote of the Mormon congregation, who had decided that, quote, the apparition emanated from his satanic majesty and that wonderful things may be experienced in these marvelous times. The death of Hannah Rollison was the final straw for the Favell family. Along with occupants of the 4 neighboring tenements, they abandoned the haunted tenement and moved to another rented dwelling nearby. On the evening of Tuesday, the 6th of March, 1855, a crowd of 300 people gathered outside the haunted premises on Campo Lane, blocking movement on the road outside. Windows were broken, lead was stolen from the roof, and an outhouse demolished. One group, their courage fueled by drink, broke into the haunted property and began hauling up flagstones from the cellar. Pickpockets joined the melee, and after several bystanders were violently robbed, a force of policemen were called for. As they tried to clear the road, 6 policemen in total, the mood grew angry, and 2 were left badly injured in the street battle that followed. Communal ghost hunts such as this were regarded by the Victorian authorities and press as, quote, uncouth and vulgar, a disgraceful mix of superstition and a lack of civility. The editors of the Sheffield Free Press and the Sheffield and Rotherham Independent declared they did not believe in ghosts and did not want to see property damaged and law-abiding people robbed or assaulted by those who did. These newspapers were scathing in their criticism of what they called the Campo Lane delusion and directed most of their blame upon credulous Mormonites. On the 17th of March in 1855, the Sheffield and Rotherham Independent published what it claimed was a rational explanation for the ghost scare. It said, we have been informed that some of the alleged appearances resulted from the operations with the magic lantern by the occupiers of adjacent premises, who knew that Favell and his family were Mormonites and determined to have a lark at their expense. Ghost shows and phantasmagoria were a familiar attraction at fairs and theaters from the 18th century onwards, and this was not the first time optical effects they produced had been invoked to explain ghost scares. Despite its distaste for popular superstitions, the Sheffield Free Press was forced to admit that the parties concerned with this affair, whom we have seen solemnly affirm its truth and solemnly believe that it is the work of supernatural agency, end quote. It also reported that John Favell continued to believe a woman had been murdered in the house during an earlier century. He would not be dissuaded when a journalist informed him that the rented tenement he had vacated had been constructed only 2 decades earlier. Henry Pawson, the editor of the Sheffield Times, the city newspaper that was first to publish the story of the Campo Lane ghost, declared that he remained open-minded, that popular belief in ghosts is not extinct, even in a large town like Sheffield. It is proved by these tragic circumstances. We leave to the ingenious reader to explain away these appearances, fancied or real, upon rational grounds. We content ourselves with telling the tale as 'twas told to us, satisfied that we have detailed for public dictation a ghost story which is far too good to remain hidden in obscurity.
Yeah, it's a weird one because like she was the only one that saw the ghost, yeah. The one that died.
So she
But
saw the
people witnessed her
ghost
seeing it.
first, and other people witnessed her seeing it, but I'm pretty sure in that account, one of the other women also claimed to see it after she had fainted.
Oh yeah, on like the stairs or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really creepy.
So they were all told, there were 3 people who actually saw something and claimed that they truly believed that it was an actual ghost doing
Yeah.
these things.
I don't
I
like that they
like the
can actually
article
kill people.
because sorry?
I don't like how they can actually kill people.
No. No, it's the story itself is very spooky, and it reminds me of Uncanny. Like, I feel like
Mhm.
it's something that we would hear on an episode of Uncanny because it's really well documented. The newspapers were reporting everything that had happened. So they must have had a reporter planted at the scene, basically.
Yeah.
Um,
I wonder if it
and
has been on there already.
I don't know. If he hasn't covered it, he really should cover it. Um,
Yeah.
it's freaky because it's so well documented, and he brings it up in his paper because he goes on to then discuss the number of times when historically a death has been caused by what they call a fright or like a supernatural fright. So like death by ghost.
Mhm.
Um, that was really, really interesting. He goes on to talk about like laws that get made that have to do with this. And so I just found it really spooky, and I thought that it went really well with the theme of this episode.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's a mystery. If you
Yeah.
are interested in that paper, I've linked the entire paper in my show notes. It's the one that says "Scared to Death," and it's a PDF link.
So we were up to where that other worker has gone into the room, and oh yeah, Sam and Dean have just broken down the door. So as they go into the room, they see the man from before trapped under a bookcase that's now fallen on top of him. They try to help him, but the old man ghost materializes and throws Dean across the room, then shoves Sam. Then he makes sparks with his fingers and goes to touch the man's head. But Dean finds a big wrench thing and tries to hit the ghost with it, and the ghost disappears because it's iron.
Mhm.
Um, Everything goes quiet. The monitors turn off again, and then they help the man get free. And Sam asks Dean how he knew how to do that, and he's like, "Huh." And then we cut to Dean's apartment, and the dialogue here is really funny. Just this whole bit, it's
Yeah, it is.
hilarious.
It's amazing.
It's really funny how they're both like, "I've got no idea how I did that awesome thing."
Okay. Dean's drinking his master cleanse, which is
Yep.
important. Okay. Dean goes, "Holy crap, dude." And Sam says, "Yeah, I could use a beer." And we see that it's Dean's apartment. It's his Patrick Bateman apartment. Everything's very upper class, expensive. He has like this big bowl of apples. We don't know if they're real or not because he says that he goes, "I'm sorry, man. I'm on the cleanse. I got rid of all the carbs in the house." And Sam says, "Hey, how the hell did you know that ghosts are scared of wrenches?" So Dean hands Sam the master cleanse to drink as well. And Dean says, "Crazy, right? And nice job kicking that door too. That was very Jet Li. What are you, like a black belt or something?" I don't know. I don't know if that's a dated reference now. If you're a child and you don't know who Jet Li is, Jet Li is like Jackie Chan. Okay, he's like a really cool martial artist, and he's in lots of action movies. And you should know who Jet Li is. Go look him up. Go watch some Jet Li movies. You're welcome. So Sam says, "I have no clue how I did that. It's like we've done this before." And Dean says, "What do you mean before? Like Shirley MacLaine before?" And Sam says, "No, I just can't shake this feeling like I don't belong here, you know? Like I should be doing something more than sitting in a cubicle." Dean says, "I think most people who work in a cubicle feel that same way."
That was funny.
And Sam says, "No. Well, look, it's more than that. Like I don't like my job. I don't like this town. I don't like my clothes. I don't like my own last name. I don't know how else to explain it except that it feels like I should be doing something else. There's just something in my blood." And that's a funny line. There's
Yeah,
it's
demon blood.
demon blood, Sam. Like I was destined for something different. What about you? You ever feel that way? Dean says, "I don't believe in destiny. I do believe in dealing with what's right in front of us though." And it's so funny because they kind of switch roles a little bit.
Yeah.
And this is like opposite land. Sam says, "All right, so what do we do now?" And Dean says, "We do what I do best, Sammy, research." That is so funny.
Yeah.
And then Sam says, "Okay, did you just call me Sammy?" And Dean goes, "Did I?" And Sam says, "I think you did." "Yeah, don't."
Yeah, don't do that.
And Dean says, "Sorry."
Yeah.
And then we
Uh,
see Dean sitting on a laptop at a corner desk and Sam on another laptop at a table. And he goes, "Oh, jackpot." And Sam says, "What you got?" And Dean says, "I just found the best site ever, real actual ghost hunters." And Sam goes over to see. And Dean says, "These guys are genius. Check it out."
yeah,
Sam says,
genius.
"Instructional videos." And Dean's looking at the Ghostfacers website and he pulls up this video and it's Ed and Harry and they're wearing white lab coats. And Ed said, "We know why you're watching." And Harry says, "You've got a problem." And Ed says, a ghost problem. And Harry says, a ghost related problem. A ghost, it's like a ghost adjacent it's like a problem that's, and the ghost is. Ed says, whatever. You've come to the right place. The
So
only
cringe.
decent place, really, because the Ghostfacers know how to solve it. And Harry goes, period. And Ed says, watch and learn. And Harry says, see, the first step in any supernatural fight. And Ed and Harry say, figure out what you're up against. And Dean looks over at Sam. On Sam's laptop is this article about the death of Sandover's founder, and it has this picture. And Dean says, that's him. That's the ghost. And Sam says, P.T. Sandover died in 1916, devoted his life to his work, no wife, no kids. The article text visible next to the picture reads, Office 1444 was considered the center of the company operations, with Sandover himself overseeing all details of any construction project that the company undertook. Now, did anybody else think about the fact that Kripke said that he left his family like steelworks? It was like a steelwork
Oh,
industry
yeah.
kind of job. And here
Yeah.
we are seeing Sam and Dean in this like other world. I don't know. I just thought that was fun.
Yeah.
So it goes on to say that he was considered to be a difficult person to work for, and they had an exceptionally high standard of quality, often marching onto construction sites and halting all work until he'd personally inspected each aspect of the structure. Blah 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 blah. And then Sam says he used to say that he was the company and his very blood pumped through the building. And Dean's like, wow, okay,
Yeah.
so slight workaholic. Maybe he's still here, watching over the company, even killing for it. And Sam says, plus it turns out this wasn't the first time people started killing themselves in the building, 1929. And Dean's like, yeah, but lots of guys jumped off of a lot of high rises that year. Because if you don't know, that was the Great Depression in America, and the stock
Was
markets
that
all
the Wall
crashed.
Street crash? Yeah.
Yeah, that was the Wall Street crash, and a lot of people jumped off of very high buildings because the world was coming to an end as far as they were concerned.
Mm. Yeah.
So Sam says how many companies had 17 suicides, though? And he says few. Okay, so P.T. Sandover, protector of the company, his ghost wakes up and becomes active during a time of grave economic distress. And Sam says, well, I mean, the worst we've seen since the Great Depression. And that's true. When these episodes were airing, America was going through another huge economic
Was
crisis.
this 2008?
The Big Short, baby.
Mm.
Yeah.
That was this is the year I left uni, because then
Yep.
there was no jobs.
This is kind of like low-key another, if you think about it that way, Christian Bale reference, because Christian Bale is also in the movie of The Big Short, which probably hasn't come out yet. Supernatural predicts. But
Yeah.
you have Patrick Bateman, who he plays, and then he also plays the genius guy who's like, oh my God, look at what they're doing. Look at what these banks and like these shady organizations are doing.
Yeah.
They go on to say like how bad it is. And Dean says, yeah, now sucks. My portfolio is in the sewer. I don't even want to talk about it. And Sam looks at him like he's such a douche and it's layers. He says, so Sandover is helping the bottom line. And Dean says, by zapping some model employees. And Sam says, yeah, I mean, Ian and Paul, it was like he turned them into different people. Dean says, perfect worker bees. Exactly. So devoted to the company that they would commit harikari if they failed it. And Sam says one more interesting fact. The building wasn't always that high. It used to be 14 floors, and the room where the ghost attacked, 1444, once upon a time, that was the old man's office. So then they go back to the Ghostfacers video, and Harry's like, once you've got the thing in your sights, and then Harry says, you kill it. And I'm like, yeah, okay, you kill a ghost. Sure, guys. Okay. Harry says using special ghost hunting weapons. And Ed goes, first, salt. It's like acid to ghosts. And he shows a ghost salt shaker with the ghost. Everything has a Ghostfacers logo. Like they've turned everything into merch. And Harry says Bernie acid, and Ed says not LSD. And Harry says no, it's a bad trip for ghosts. Next up, iron. And Sam goes, that's why the wrench worked. And Ed says pure power in your hand. And Harry says dissipates ghosts instantly. Ed says next little trick, we learned this from those useless douchebags. And Harry says that we hate. And Ed says the Winchesters. Harry says gun. Ed says shotgun shell. Pack it up with fresh rock salt. Harry says very effective. And Ed says very effective, like an echo. Harry says the Winchesters still suck ass, though. Ed says affirmative. Suckage, major. Then we get this like almost B-roll shot of Dean packing 2 pokers in this duffel bag and then we see like the salt shaker and then some sort of like random items that we guess have to do with it. And Dean's like, "Where do we even get a gun?" And Sam says, "Gun store?" Dean says, "Isn't there some kind of like waiting period or something?" And Sam says, "I think so." And Dean's like, "Well, how in the hell?" And Sam says, "I don't know. Seems pretty impossible, honestly." And Dean says, "Right." And then they go back to the video.
I did find a fun fact about this about Ohio in the gun laws. So it says
Yeah.
that so after this bit, the episode takes place in Ohio, which is a very pro Second Amendment state and has very few restrictions on the sale of firearms compared to some states. Ohio has no waiting period for firearm purchases. The only requirement is passing a standard criminal background check. Ohio also does not have any restrictions on assault weapons or magazine capacity. And as of March 3rd, 2022, the state passed a bill eliminating the requirement to have a permit to carry a concealed handgun. So they would have easily been able to get a gun.
Yeah. So Ed says the aforementioned super annoying Winchester douche nozzles also taught us this other thing. You have
Douche
to burn
nozzles.
their remains. Yeah. Harry says, "Okay, this next part gets a little gross. Sometimes you might have to dig up the body. Sorry." It says it's illegal in some states. And Harry goes, "All states." Ed goes, "Possibly all states." Sam says Sandover was cremated. And Dean says, What do we do now?" And Harry says, "Now, if the deceased has been cremated," and Ed says, "Don't panic." Harry says, "Don't panic." Ed says, "Just gotta look for some other remains." Harry says, "A hair and a locket, maybe fingernails, baby teeth." And then Ed says, "Milk teeth." Harry says, "Genetic material, you know what we're talking about." Ed says, "Go find it." Harry says, "Fight well, young lions." Ed says, "Godspeed."
Uh, they are funny, but they're so cringy. And I just get secondhand embarrassment watching them.
I can understand that reaction, but I just love them.
Especially Harry. Is Harry the one with short hair? Yeah.
They both have short hair. I'm
No, but Ed's got like
confused.
curlier, longer hair slightly.
Okay.
So yeah, but especially Harry, because he's just like, he just repeats everything that Ed says most of the time.
Yeah, he's an
But
echo.
like, yeah, but more stupid.
Yeah.
Uh, um,
Rats are the rats of the world.
yeah, exactly. So Sam and Dean and a bag full of stuff get on the
Mm.
lift. Dean tells Sam to set his phone to walkie-talkie mode. Was this a thing that I've just completely forgotten? Could you set your
I
phone to walkie-talkie mode?
I think so, but I don't 100% know, and I think it was only one phone brand.
I was going to say, because I did have walkie-talkies at one point, but I remember before I had them, I really, really wanted walkie-talkies, and if I'd knew my phone had done
Yeah, that would be amazing, huh?
yeah. So that's cool. So they go to room 1444 to search, and Sam gets busted by a security guard. Dean hides behind a shelf so he isn't seen, and Sam is led away into the lift. As it descends, we see the ghost breath and the lift shake, and then screeches to a halt stuck between floors 9 and 10. The guard uses a key to unlock the doors, then pulls them open. He tells Sam, "Come on," and Sam looks scared and is like, "What?" And the guard says it took 2 hours to be rescued last time this happened. And Sam wants to wait, but the guard starts to climb out. And then we just have a short little cutscene where Dean is still rifling through the stuff in room 1444. And then back in the lift, the guard gets out and turns to Sam. Sam's still not having it though. He's like, "No, I'm just going to wait here." The guard
Yeah.
leans back into the lift, holding out a hand to Sam, getting annoyed, saying, "Look, I don't have the rest of my life here." Foreshadowing for a split second later when the lift falls and crushes him, killing him. Sam is splattered with blood, and it's another gruesome death. It's so
I wrote,
gruesome.
he goes, "Look, I don't have the rest of my life." And I wrote, "Or the rest of your torso."
Oh, I didn't care for the lower part of his body flailing around like a dead fish.
No. Okay. So what you need to know about me is that as Laura is scared of dolls and eyeballs, I am scared of elevators.
Yeah, I am as
Um,
well. I'm
and I
scared of a lot of
hate
things.
them so much. I think I've talked about this before, but like these sorts of scenes in horror movies do not make me want to get on them. If there's an option where I
Mhm.
can get on the stairs, I will take the stairs every single time that it's not ridiculous for me to take the stairs. And
Ugh.
then when I
Especially when
get
they get stuck between floors, I'd be like, no. I'd be like
stuck
Sam. I'd be like,
between
I'm just
floors, I'd
waiting
be
here.
like, "No, I'm good. I'm
I'd
so
rather be
good."
in the lift when it falls than half out of the lift.
Ugh.
Ew.
Neither is a good option. And then what's even worse is for the longest time I had this delusion that like I could a lot of people think like this, that if it dropped you would just need to jump so that you would be in the air. And then there's some physics dude who ruined that bubble for all of us by just
Ugh.
explaining that like that's not how physics works and the impact would be too much anyway, so you'd be fucked either way.
Ugh.
There's no way to survive it. And I was like, "Well, thanks for that nightmare
Well,
fuel."
even if it's only a few floors.
Yeah. Well,
Ugh.
maybe then you would be okay. But like he was basically saying the force of the impact of the elevator dropping so many floors, like even if you jumped up, it would basically just jump up to meet you and kind of crush you anyway. So
Ugh.
be pointless. And I was like,
What about
that
if you just
was,
like lay on the floor in a ball?
I mean, you're dead either way.
Well,
It doesn't, there's no surviving it basically. That was his whole point.
well, I still think I'd rather be in the lift than cut in half. So,
Yeah. Like a gummy worm.
ew.
Basically, it is horrifying. The whole thing
Yeah,
is horrifying.
yeah. And poor fake Sam is traumatized.
He's still Sam. I looked it up, by the way. Let's just segue into something not horrible. And it says that the primary phones in the 2000s that had a walkie-talkie setting were produced by Nextel and featured the Direct Connect service. And that
Oh,
some
I
other
didn't have that
carriers
phone.
like Boost Mobile and Sprint also offered this feature because it was popular. So Nextel, I think, invented it. And it used this technology developed by Motorola called Integrated Digital Enhanced Network, or IDN, to offer this instant push-to-talk communication over the network. So you'd push a
Ugh.
button and it would instantly connect and then kind of chirp with the other Nextel user or group that you were in the group with. So it's effectively turned it into walkie-talkies.
That's cool. I
It is
didn't have
cool.
that phone. I just had all my dad's old phones when he got an upgrade, and they were all Nokias for the
Yeah.
first like 4 phones I had.
Yeah. I think I pretty much only had Nokias also.
They were good though. They had Snake.
Yeah, they were great. Okay. So Dean is inside the storeroom at night, frantically searching. Then the guard gets killed. Then Dean is calling Sam on the walkie-talkie and says, "Hey, are you okay?" And Sam reaches for the phone super slowly, and then he goes, "I'll call you back,"
Yeah, poor
just
Sam.
covered in blood. So then he walks, like cleaning the blood off of his face with a towel, looking for Dean, and he says, "Dean, are you there?" And Dean says, "Yeah, listen, I think I got it. Meet me at 22." Sam says, "Okay, I'll just take the stairs."
Yeah. Oh dear. So they meet by the history display about the building, and Dean thinks that the gloves that are part of the exhibit must have some of Sandover's DNA in them. They break the display, and we see the ghost breath, and the ghost appears behind Dean, throwing him across the room. Then he does the same to Sam and comes after him with his electric fingers. Oh, I had a question. So the
Mhm.
electric fingers, we've seen a ghost do that before. Was it Asylum?
Asylum, yeah, the doctor in
So is
Asylum.
that just a ghost thing in Supernatural where they have like electric
It seems like
fingers?
certain ones do have electric fingers, and they can jump your brain and make you, I don't know, susceptible. Because this one, he changes them, doesn't he, into the ideal workers.
Yeah, yeah. That was similar because I just noticed and that he was like an old man as well.
Yeah.
Um
Old man ghosts get lightning fingers for no reason.
bloody old men ghosts. um, so Sam throws salt at him and he disappears, and then he reappears behind Dean, and Sam alerts him and throws an iron poker at him. Dean then swipes it through the ghost, making him disappear. And this whole time that they're shocked that they know what to do and how brilliant they are, and it's like they're natural, you might say, or supernatural. Uh,
Nice.
Sam gets up and picks up another poker. The ghost reappears between them and they both swipe at him. He keeps reappearing in various places and getting swiped at, but manages to throw Sam against the wall, then Dean. And just as he goes to touch Dean's head with his electric fingers, Sam manages to burn the gloves. And then the ghost sets on fire and disappears for good. And Sam's like, "That was amazing." And he's like, "Right?"
Yeah,
Right? That
I
was
love
funny.
that part.
I love how excited they are about like hunting.
Well, the thing is like, it's really, really, really wholesome, and, the angel, Zachariah, makes a really, really good point at the end of the episode, um, which is that actually, like, I think what this episode does is I feel like they realized that they were trying to make things so dark and scary for the audience, but they were also making us miserable by making Sam and Dean too miserable, and then what we needed was a return to the earlier seasons where them fighting stuff is cool.
Yeah, it definitely feels like an episode. It's kind of mid-season, maybe slightly later than that, but not main storyline, really depressing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a breather.
yeah,
It's a chance for us to laugh and, like, actually enjoy the episode, and that was so needed, and it's really good, and it also kind of changes things from the kind of boohoo storylines we've seen before
yeah.
where, in the gin episode where Dean's, like, a low functioning alcoholic, if he's
Mhm.
not. This is really, really different from that. This is Dean ironically, hilariously going to Stanford.
Yeah,
And being really, really
they're like
successful.
opposites.
Yeah, and then Sam's just a random IT dude. So,
Yeah, but
it's
it's
it
clever how they've managed to do that by, well, they've just done like a, it's almost like an amnesia episode because they've forgotten everything about their past lives. So they don't know who they are. So then the writers are then free to do whatever they want with the characters, aren't they, for this episode? Like they
yes.
don't remember any of their trauma and stuff at the moment. They could just have fun with it.
Yeah, it's like tabula rasa. It's like the blank slate.
Ah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so Dean pulls out a first aid kit from his desk because 'cause they're back in his office, and he says, "Man, I gotta tell you, I've never had so much fun in my life," and Sam says, "Me neither," and Dean says, "It was a hell of a workout too, wasn't it?" And Sam says, "We should keep doing this," and Dean goes, "I know." And then he goes through the gauze pad and comes out with, these different little medical kit things and gives some stuff to Sam to help him out. And Sam says, "I mean it. There's gotta be other ghosts out there. We could help a lot of people." And Dean's like, "Right? We'd be like the Ghostfacers." And Sam goes, "No, really, I mean, for real." And Dean's like, "What, like quit our jobs and hit the road?" And Sam says, "Exactly." And Dean goes, "How would we live?" And Sam says, And Dean says, "You gotta be kidding me. How would we get by? With stolen credit cards? Huh? Eating diner food drenched in saturated fats? Sharing a crap motel room every night?" And Sam says, "That's all
Yeah,
just
that's about right.
details." And Dean says, "Details are everything. You don't wanna go fighting ghosts without any health insurance." And Sam says, "All right, confession." And Dean says, "What?" And he says, "Remember those dreams I told you about with the ghosts?" And Dean's like, "Yeah." And Sam says, "I was fighting them." And Dean's like, "Okay." And Sam says, "With you. We were like these hunters and we were friends, more like brothers, really. I mean, what if
Uh,
that's who we really are? I mean, you saw us back there working together. The ghost was scrambling people's brains. What if it scrambled ours?" And Dean goes, "That's insane." And Sam says, "Is it? Think about it for just 1 second. What if we think this is our life, but it's not?" And Dean says, "Hey man, the ghost is dead and we're still standing. I mean, I'm sorry, but..." And Sam says, "Look, all I know is this isn't who we're supposed to be." And Dean says, "No, I'm Dean Smith, okay? Director of Sales and Marketing. I went to Stanford. My father's name is Bob. My mother's name is Ellen. And my sister's name is Joe." Rejected.
yep. I actually put this in my notes. I said, this show seems to be confirming the whole Joe was more like his sister thing. Um, but I still agree with you, Joy.
Well, I feel like it's like a they wrote them obviously to be romantic partners. Like we know that I've
Yeah.
read you guys the articles. Like for a fact, she was supposed to be a romantic interest for Dean, and then the fans were like, "Oh, but she's like a little sister." And I was like, "Are you guys all on crack? What episode did you just watch?" And I stand by that. But I think
Yeah.
Sarah Gamble is exercising a sense of humor by putting this line here to like pander to.
Yeah.
Pander is maybe a
Well, it's
strong
just like
word.
little Easter eggs to their like
It's
normal
it
lives, isn't
is
it?
it's an Easter egg. It's an Easter egg,
Yeah.
and it
And
is
I like
supposed
that
to.
Bobby's his dad.
Yeah, that's amazing. I didn't even pick up on that. I was trying to remember what Joe's dad's name was, and then I saw on, like, Supernatural Fandom or something, it said, "Oh, it's supposed to be Bobby." And I was like, "Oh, Bob. Oh, okay."
Yeah,
I was
Bobby.
slow on the uptake.
And then because Sam has a fiance called Madison, and that was the werewolf girl, isn't it?
Yep, indeed. And it went to a veterinary line.
Oh yeah, that was. I was like, that's too. It's too soon. Too soon.
It is way too soon. Um, so Sam's not buying it because demon blood. He knows what he knows. He says,
Yeah,
when was the
he's
last time
worked
you
it out.
talked to any of them? And Dean says, okay, you're upset, you're confused. And Sam says, yeah, because I only moved here because I just broke up with my fiance, Madison, but I called her number and I got a damn animal hospital. And Dean says, okay, what are you saying? Are you trying to say that my family isn't real, huh? That we've been injected with fake memories? Come on. And Sam says, all I know is I got this feeling in my gut. And I know that deep down you got to be feeling it too. We're supposed to be something else. You're not just some corporate douchebag. This isn't you. I know you. And Dean
Corporate
says, know me?
douchebag.
You don't know me, pal. You should go. And then Sam leaves. Corporate
Oh
douchebag
no.
was funny because it's very like Patrick Bateman. It's perfect.
Yeah,
I was so happy.
that is good. This next scene is really funny and hot.
Do you want to read it?
Yeah, so then we cut to the cubicles the next day, and Sam's phone's ringing, but he's ignoring it. But the ringing starts annoying him, and then he just starts smashing everything up, and that was really hot. And then he just says, "I quit." Oh, I liked it.
I was like, how are you carrying this poker around with you at your actual desk? Firstly, I did think it was really funny though, because I feel like everybody's had that moment of overwhelm at work, and we've all fantasized about doing this. So he looks at his phone line, and he's got
Yeah,
like 6 phone lines going all at the same time, and it is nuts. And he's just like, you know what? Nope, fuck this forever. And then he
yeah.
smashes everything up.
And we know
Eh,
from like season 1 when he did the altar throwing,
yeah, I
the
was
altar
gonna
tossing.
say
And
in
we're
my
like,
notes, it
that was
literally
hot.
says this is a thirst trap for Laura.
Yeah, definitely.
So then we cut to Dean's office, and it's daytime. And Alder, who's his boss, knocks on the door and says, got a minute? And he says, sure, of course. And again, this whole scene is very, very Patrick Bateman. It's so funny. And then he says, how are you feeling, Dean? And Dean says, great. And Alder says, you look a little tired, been working hard, I gather. And Dean says, yeah. Alder says, don't be modest. I hear everything, and I'm pleased with what I'm hearing. And then he sits down in front of Dean's desk. And he says, that's why it's important to me that you're happy. So he pulls out a pen and grabs this piece of paper and writes some stuff down. And it also kind of reminded me of, it's like a little bit of American Psycho blended with, I can't remember the name of that movie where Al Pacino plays the devil and Keanu Reeves is in it with Charlize Theron. And it's basically like he's working in a corporate job and the devil's trying to get his soul because he's a good man. I'm sure there's a scene where he writes down a number like this and passes it over to him and is like, give me everything, kind of a thing.
Devil's advocate.
Devil's Advocate, that's the movie. Thank you, Laura. It reminds me of Devil's Advocate. So Alder says, "How's that for a bonus?" And Dean says it's very generous. And he says that he wants to make sure that he's not going anywhere. And Dean says, "Wow, are you sure?" And Alder says, "Positive. You are Sandover material, son, a real go-getter, carving your own way." And Dean says, "Well, thanks, I try." And he says, I see big things in your future, maybe even senior VP, Eastern Great Lakes Division. Don't get me wrong, you'll have to work for it. 7 days a week, lunch at your desk. But in 8 or 10 short years, that could be you.
Short years.
Right? And it just sounds like absolute hell.
Yeah.
And Dane takes off his headset and then says, well, thank you, sir. It's and then he gives him the paper back and he says, I'm giving my notice. And Alder says, this is a joke. Kidding me, right? And Dean says, no, I've recently, very recently realized that I have to do some other work. And it's very important to me. And Alder says, other work? Another company? I just realized this entire time my dyslexia has me saying that, and his name is actually supposed to be Adler. we're gonna
What have you been calling him?
Alder. It's amazing.
Oh
And
well,
I can read
we'll
it
have to
all.
leave that in now because otherwise it won't make sense.
Yeah. No, it's fine. I'm happy with that. My dyslexia is the comic relief. Dean says that it's hard to explain, but it's just not who he's supposed to be. And Adler grins. And Dean says, what? And Adler says, Dean, 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 finally. And then he stands up and
Finally.
presses two fingers to Dean's forehead, and everything goes from this saturated color to dim. And then Dean looks around at everything like the office and himself, and you can tell that he's come, like it's Dean. He's woken up.
Yeah.
And
He's
he goes, what the
remembering
hell?
everything.
Why am I wearing a tie? My God, I am hungry.
Not surprised we cleansed him.
Yeah. Adler laughs. And then he says, welcome back. And Dean stands up and Dean says, "Wait, did I just get touched by you're an angel, aren't you?"
He's like, bloody angels, I knew it.
Yeah. And Adler says, "I'm Zachariah." And Dean says, "Oh great. All I need is another one of you guys." And Zachariah says, "I'm hardly another one, Dean. I'm Castiel's superior. Believe me, I had
I'm the
no
best angel.
I'm the best angel ever."
It's
And
like if Trump was an angel.
oh no.
I'm the best angel that's ever been an angel.
God. Oh, okay. Zachariah says, "Believe me, I had no interest in popping down here into one of these smelly things." And then he indicates his human host. And he says, "But after the unfortunate situation with Uriel, I felt it necessary to pay a visit, get my ducks in a row." And Dean says, "I am not one of your ducks." And Zachariah says, "Starting with your attitude." And he says it in this really threatening way. And Dean says, "Oh, so what? This was all some sort of lesson. Is that what you're telling me? Wow, very creative." And Zachariah says, "You should see my decoupage." And Dean says, "Gross. No, thank you." And I don't know if he was actually disgusted by the idea of decoupage or if he didn't know what decoupage meant.
I think he thinks he was thinking décolletage or something, wasn't he?
I don't know.
I think that's
I
what
think
he was supposed to be. He misheard.
I think decoupage sounded like French for poop to him because it's Dean.
Well, I think he was saying you should see my boobs.
Okay.
And he was like, no.
Oh my god, Laura. Stop triggering my asthma. So Dean says, "So what? I'm just hallucinating all of this? Is that it?" And Zachariah says, "No, not at all. Real place, real haunting. Just plunked you in the middle without the benefit of your memories." And Dean says, "Just to shake things up, huh? So you guys can have fun watching us run around like ass clowns in monkey suits." And I was like, what?
What is going on?
What? Ass clowns and monkey suits. What?
What the hell's an ass clown?
I don't know.
Actually, I don't want to know.
Well, I mean, ass clown in American slang, as I always like took it, like when people would say it, it just means somebody's like an absolute idiot.
Like just goofing around.
Yeah, they're a jackass clown,
Ugh.
dumbass clown, jackass clown, that kind of thing. So then it just gets shortened to like ass clown.
Yeah.
Okay. So Zachariah says, "To prove to you that the path you're on is truly in your blood, you're a hunter, not because your dad made you, not because God called you back from hell, but because it is what you are, and you love it. You'll find your way to it in the dark every single time, and you're miserable without it. Dean, let's be real here. You're good at this. You'll be successful. You will stop it." And Dean says, "Stop what? The apocalypse? Huh? Lucifer. What? Be specific, man." I was like, okay. Okay, dude. Zachariah says, "You'll do everything you're destined to do. All of it. But I know. You're not strong enough. You're scared. You've got daddy issues. You can't do it, right?" And Dean says, "Angel or not, I will stab you in your face." And I was like, yeah. That was a thirst trap. And Zachariah says, "All I'm saying is, it's how you look at it. Most folks live and die without moving anything more than the dirt it takes to bury them. You get to change things." That is one hell of a line. That is beautiful writing, by the way. And Dean turns away, and then Zachariah says, "Save people, maybe even save the world, all while you drive a classic car and fornicate with women. This isn't a curse, it's a gift. So for God's sake, Dean, quit whining about it. Look around. There are plenty of fates worse than yours. So are you with me? You want to go steam yourself another latte? Or are you ready to stand up and be who you really are?"
Yeah, Dean, stop whining.
And then that's the end of the episode. And that's such an awesome line. Like, I love it so much. And also the way he was like, how do I explain to him that his life is actually awesome? I know. I'll put him in corporate America.
Yeah. So basically this whole episode is just because Dean is having like an identity crisis and doesn't believe in himself. So the angels are like, okay, we've got to show him that he's actually really good.
This whole episode is basically them telling Dean to not be a whiny little bitch.
Yeah.
The entire episode happens because Dean is like, "I didn't do it. I'm not the one. I'm not the guy." And the angels are like, "Yes, you are." And then it's like, if this was a Supernatural Wiki transcript, it would be like, he makes bitch face at Dean. "Stop being such a bitch, Dean."
And we know it's about Dean because they don't even show us Sam's reaction to it being like all fake.
No, we don't see anything from Sam.
No.
Like everything, it's the Dean show. It's the Dean Winchester show.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I love it. I love this episode so much. It's everything to me.
It's fun. It was much needed, like, comic relief for the last few episodes that we've had that are really depressing.
Yeah,
So
100%.
I appreciate it for that.
Yeah.
Little break in the seriousness. Do you have anything to end, or should we just go into games?
Games, please.
Okay, so villain hot or not?
Who
Old Man
is
Ghost.
the villain?
No.
Ebenezer Scrooge? Absolutely not.
Electric Fingers. No.
Absolutely not. Not hot.
No. Scare rating. It's gruesome.
It is
But does that
gruesome,
mean
but it's
scary?
not scary.
It's
I'm going to
kind
give
of
it like a 3.5. Maybe a 4 for the microwaved head.
yeah. See, it was really gruesome. I'm gonna give it 6 because the gruesomeness I think is scary for me in this one.
Yeah.
Favorite quotes.
Favorite quotes are the big speech at the end about Dean being a whiny little bitch. It's definitely in there. I also really like when he's like, "How much D&D did you play as a kid?" And then they say "Dick Wizard." That's so funny. But I actually think my favorite lines are when Dean is first getting really excited about like hunting, and Sam saying that they did a really good job, and he goes, "Right, right." Every time he says "right" and he's all enthusiastic. That's my favorite thing.
Yeah. I had. So you're telling me your dreams are special visions and you're some kind of psychic, Sam? No, I mean that would be nuts.
Yeah, that's great.
And then I also had Zachariah at the end saying, "You should see my decoupage." And Dean saying, "Grace, no thanks."
That's a really good one.
And I think my favourite one is Dean when he first comes out of it and he's like, "What the hell? Why am I wearing a tie? My God, am I hungry?"
That's really, really funny.
Very good.
It's really funny.
First round?
For me, it's Dean dressed like Patrick Bateman, like the entire episode in all of his different outfits.
Yeah, very good. They suited him.
I assume for you it's Sam smashing up the computer and kicking the door down.
Yeah, it was the kicking the door down. The smashing up the computer was good, but the kicking the door down was the best one.
Yeah.
And then the MVP, I think it might be the Ghostfacers joy.
It fucking is the Ghostfacers. There's no other option.
I don't want it to be the Ghostfacers.
I know,
It's certainly
right?
not the Angels. And like
Yeah.
Sam and Dean, they literally followed their videos.
To a
So I think
T.
it's them.
Yeah, it's
Bloody
the
Ghostfacers.
Ghostfacers.
And then there wasn't a motel because they were in
Offices
the
and
office.
like apartments and stuff. I would marry Dean and I would live in that fancy
Oh
apartment.
yeah, his apartment was good. Yeah, maybe we should just
We
rate
have
that.
no
That'd be
idea
5.
where Sam was living. But yeah,
In
no,
his
I'm
cubicle.
gonna
By the looks of
yeah,
it.
I would go for the Patrick Bateman, Dean Winchester fusion apartment with the fancy latte machinery and stuff. And I'd be like,
Yeah,
yes,
that's
you
cool.
can totally make me a coffee.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. So that's that episode. Laura has collapsed. You've really got the giggles for like the last half of this episode.
Have I?
Yeah.
It was funny.
It is a really funny episode. Any episode in which the Ghostfacers are the most valuable player has gotta be really off the rails.
I'm not happy about giving them that, but it was them.
She's enraged. Do you have any predictions for what we'll see in the next episode?
No.
No. Okay.
Just Dean being sad again.
I have not looked at what the next episode is, so I don't know.
The next episode is the monster at the end of this book.
The monster at the end of this book is amazing. This is one of my favorite episodes. We're going to get to see some really pivotal, important characters introduced in this episode. Big, major, main storyline stuff is gonna drop in the most subtle way, and, it is absolutely fantastic. This one is another really funny one, so I'm relieved and excited.
Oh, good. We still get some brevity. Is that the right word?
Brevity? Yeah, brevity is a real word. It sounds made up right now because we're tired, but it is real.
Cool. Well, I look forward to having fun watching the next one then as well.
Yep.
Do you have anything else you want to say, Joy? Or should we just go?
I think that's everything that we could possibly say, Laura.
Okay, because we're really tired.
We're really tired.
See you all next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode, please rate, review, and subscribe. We would be very grateful. And if you know someone who would enjoy it, please share.
You can find us on Instagram at the Witches of Letters podcast, or you can email us at thewitchesofletters@gmail.com.
Until next time, stay safe out there, have each other's backs, and always keep fighting.